Welcome everyone to ManageEngine Patch Tuesday webinar for the month of January 2025. As we step into the new year, January presents a fresh start, a time to set new goals and embrace opportunities. It's also a perfect moment to prioritize our digital security, ensuring that the resolutions we make for personal growth and success are protected from online threats. Just as we start the year with a clean slate, let's secure our digital lives for the months ahead, making cybersecurity a key part of our 2025 plans. With immense gratitude, we express our delight at having you all join us on this fine morning. Let's get ready for an insightful session. I'm Niveda, product expert at ManageEngine, and I'll be your presenter today. Alongside me, we have our patch pundits ready to engage with you in real time via chat. So please feel free to post your questions throughout the webinar. Kindly note that it will be a 60-minute webinar and it is being recorded. The recorded session will be sent to your registered email IDs in 2 to 3 working days. So what's on the agenda for today's session? First up, we will discuss this month's security news. Then we will have a detailed breakdown of the Windows life cycle as well as the end of life dates for the various Windows versions. Next, we'll be discussing the Patch Tuesday updates for the month of January. And then we'll also be demonstrating how you can simplify the patch management process for your network's endpoints using ManageEngine's patch management solution. By that, we will also be sharing some of the best practices for patching that you can follow to perform patch management for your hybrid networks. And last but not the least, as always, we'll have a question and answer session wherein we'll be addressing all your queries. So let us take a look at the security news. Security researchers have uncovered a data theft campaign that has affected at least 36 compromised Chrome extensions, potentially exposing 2.6 million users. The attack started when hackers phished a cyber haven admin, tricking them into granting access to a malicious OAuth application. This allowed attackers to upload a malicious version of the extension designed to steal sensitive information like passwords and cookies. This highlights the growing risks of browser extensions and the importance of monitoring updates to prevent security breaches. To mitigate such risks, ManageEngine Endpoint Central's Browser Security Plus offers a robust solution. It provides real-time visibility into the browser extensions being used across your organization, allowing you to identify and control which extensions are installed. You can block potentially malicious extensions and monitor for any suspicious behavior. Additionally, Browser Security Plus helps ensure that extensions remain up to date and compliant with your security policies, providing an extra layer of defense against data theft and browser hijacks. By giving you greater control over browser security, it reduces the risk of similar attacks and helps safeguard your organization's digital environment. So, folks, if you'd like to discover and learn more about the full capabilities of ManageEngine Endpoint Central Browser Security Plus, please feel free to fill up the demo request form. The link has been shared in the chat. On to the Windows lifecycle. If you're still running Windows 10, here's an important heads up, guys. Its active support will officially end on October 14, 2025. That means after that date, no more security updates or feature improvements. So if you haven't already, it's definitely time to start planning your upgrade to Windows 11 before support runs out. But don't worry, if you're already using Endpoint Central for patch management, you're in a great position to handle this transition smoothly. Let me walk you through how it can simplify the entire upgrade process for you. Let's jump into the console. On the home page, you'll see Zia's analysis. This feature is super helpful when making the move from Windows 10 to Windows 11. It gives you insights like which Windows 10 devices are reaching end of life and which ones are ready to upgrade to Windows 11. Plus, you'll get other useful information to guide you along the way. For more details on how to get started, check out the links shared by our panelists in the chat. At ManageEngine, we are excited to share that you can easily initiate the feature pack update through Patch Manager Plus. So folks, we have put together an easy to follow guide on how to upgrade from Windows 10 to Windows 11 using ManageEngine Endpoint Central. Simply scan the QR code to watch it or check out the link we have shared in the chat. Let's move on to Patch Tuesday update breakdown. So this time there are 159 vulnerabilities, out of which 8 are also zero-day vulnerabilities. We'll be discussing them in the later slides, but taking a look at the breakdown, we see a total of 84 patches released to mitigate the 159 vulnerabilities. Also, if these vulnerabilities are left unpatched in your endpoints, they can cause 6 different kinds of impacts in your systems, which we'll also be discussing in detail in the following slides. So as I said earlier, there are 8 zero-day vulnerabilities released in this month's Patch Tuesday. Let me quickly show you where you would find zero-day vulnerability in our console. Let us navigate to the top menu, click on Threats and Patches. Let me sign in again. Right. On the left pane, let's click on Threats and choose zero-day vulnerabilities. These are the list of zero-day vulnerabilities. So let me go ahead and fix this vulnerability in my system. Let us tick this box off and choose Install a public patches. As you can see, it will automatically take you to manual deployment. By applying all the necessary configurations, you can successfully patch the zero-day vulnerability. Zero-day vulnerabilities CVE 2025-21333, CVE 2025-21334, and CVE 2025-21335 is found in Windows Hyper-V NT kernel integration PSP, and this can cause elevation of privilege. These vulnerabilities enable attackers to run arbitrary code with elevated privileges on impacted systems. According to Microsoft, an attacker who successfully exploits this vulnerability could obtain system privileges. Although these vulnerabilities are currently being exploited, they had not been previously disclosed. This has been assigned a CVSS rating of 7.8. The next set of vulnerabilities, CVE 2025-21186, CVE 2025-21366, and CVE 2025-21395 is found in Microsoft Assist, and this can cause remote code execution. The vulnerabilities have now been publicly disclosed, but no instances of exploitation have been reported so far. The released updates may help prevent specific malicious extensions from being delivered through mail. This has also been assigned a CVSS rating of 7.8. The next zero-day vulnerability is CVE 2025-21308 found in Windows Teams, and this causes spoofing. Microsoft explains that an attacker would need to convince the user to load a malicious file onto a vulnerable system, often through an email or instant message, and then get the user to interact with the file, though they don't necessarily have to open or click on it. To protect against this, systems with NTML disabled aren't affected, but for others, blocking the NTML hash via an existing group policy can help mitigate the issue. This vulnerability has been assigned a CVSS rating of 6.5. The zero-day vulnerability of this month is CVE 2025-21275 found in Windows App Package Installer, and this can cause spoofing. Although this vulnerability has been publicly disclosed, there have been no reported cases of active exploitation. Microsoft has confirmed that attackers could gain system privileges by taking advantage of this flaw. This has been assigned a CVSS rating of 7.8. Now let us move on to the critical vulnerabilities. We have 10 critical vulnerabilities of this month out of the total 159 vulnerabilities. We also have 149 important vulnerabilities. So let's talk in detail about the critical vulnerabilities. The critical vulnerability CVE 2025-21311 is a vulnerability affecting the Windows NTML. The Windows NTML is an older Microsoft authentication protocol used for network logins on Windows systems. Due to its weaknesses, an attacker who exploits a vulnerability in NTML could escalate their privileges, gaining unauthorized access to sensitive system resources or full control of the system. Moving to the next critical vulnerability, it's CVE 2024-21296 affecting branch cache. Branch cache is a Windows feature that enhances network performance in branch offices, allowing organizations to optimize connectivity without heavy infrastructure cost. The vulnerability has a high attack complexity, requiring the attacker to exploit a race condition. The attack is limited to systems on the same network segment as the attacker, meaning it can't be executed across multiple networks only within the same switch or virtual network. The next critical vulnerability, CVE 2025-21294, affects Microsoft Digest authentication. As we all know, Microsoft Digest authentication is a security protocol that uses a challenge response method to authenticate users, ensuring passwords are not transmitted in plain text over the network. To exploit the vulnerability, an attacker must exploit a race condition by connecting to a system that requires digest authentication. The attacker can trigger this race condition, resulting in a use after free error that allows arbitrary code. Next up, we have CVE 2025-21362 and CVE 2025-21354, affecting Microsoft Excel. We all know what Microsoft Excel is. It is a popular spreadsheet tool available on Windows, Mac OS, Android, iOS, and iPad OS. It has a vulnerability that could allow attackers to execute remote code on vulnerable systems. The issue is caused by an untrusted pointer dereference, though Microsoft has not provided further details. Moving on to the next critical vulnerability, it's CVE 2025-21295 that affects SPNGO Extended Negotiation Security Mechanism. SPNEGO security mechanism facilitates secure negotiation of authentication protocols between clients and servers, commonly used in web-based authentication with Internet Information Services and Internet Explorer. Vulnerability can be exploited if an attacker manipulates system functions in a particular manner, allowing them to execute remote code on the target system without user involvement, potentially taking unauthorized control of the device. Next up, we have CVE 2025-21307 that affects reliable multicast transport driver. An unauthenticated attacker can exploit this vulnerability by sending specially crafted packets to a Windows Pragmatic General Multicast open socket on a server without requiring user interaction. Moving on, we have CVE 2025-21309 and CVE 2025-21297 affecting Windows Remote Desktop Services. Exploiting these vulnerabilities requires an attacker to take advantage of a race condition by carefully timing their actions. The process involves connecting to a system with the remote desktop gateway role, triggering the race condition to cause a use after free error. If successful, the attacker could execute arbitrary code on the target system. And lastly, we have CVE 2025-21298 affecting Windows OLE. Windows Object Linking and Embedding, as we call it, is a technology that enables embedding and linking to documents and objects. In an email-based attack, an attacker could exploit this vulnerability by sending a specially crafted email to the victim. Exploitation could occur if the victim opens the mail using an affected version of Microsoft Outlook or if the Outlook application previews the malicious email. About the patches by impact, as we mentioned earlier, that if these vulnerabilities are left unpatched, they can have 6 different kinds of impacts on your systems. Starting with 58 causing remote code execution, 40 causing elevation of privilege, 24 causing information disclosure, 20 causing denial of service, 14 causing security feature bypass, and 5 causing spoofing. Let's take a look at the operating systems and the applications that have been affected this month. So as we saw earlier, there were a total of 159 vulnerabilities, right? So out of which 132 have been found in Windows, 19 in Microsoft Office, 7 in developer tools, and 1 in Microsoft Dynamics. Dear participants, if you want the entire information about the Patch Tuesday updates, you can directly refer to ManageEngine's Patch Tuesday forum post. The links have already been shared in the chat. Glad to tell you that out of all the patches that have been released in January 2025, so far we support a total of 4,831 patches. So you can deploy these 4,831 patches using ManageEngine Endpoint Central, Patch Manager Plus, and Vulnerability Manager Plus.